But let's talk Rugby AU a little bit. We saw the Rebels and the Waratahs ending 29-10. And I know Australian rugby is what it is sometimes. You know, sometimes it's not, it doesn't really inspire you to get up in the morning to watch the game. But I think I've been actually enjoying it this Super Rugby AU. I think it's quite exciting. I think it's a bit more competitive, even though we saw the Brumbies and the Force, do all sorts of things. Is there anything noticeable from Australian rugby that you're looking at as a Stormers coach and being like, if we ever meet up again, you must watch out for those guys?
Look, I think there's a few aspects. I think people are favouring the New Zealand competition versus Australia. There's like a joke at the moment, like if you're starting to fall asleep, watch one of their games. But I don't think it's that true, because they are actually playing. There's some nice rugby being played.
Yeah,
the big thing for me, where I think that they're going to get the rest of the world, is that they're playing the 50-22 rule. I've actually got a clip here somewhere if you want me to play it.
Yeah, let's bring it up.
So here's the Australian. Yeah, it's a breakdown. They play a play of 9 and set it up. They'll get another ruck. And now he kicks the ball. Bounces, bang, 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 bang. It goes into the
position
22.
Yeah.
And look whose line out it is. Look who the line out is. Can you see?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's an interesting rule, and they actually explain it. You know, they actually still explain. They just show it again. Set up the ruck, and then bang, he kicks it. So with that, it brings a different dynamic to the game. You know, so what would the opposition have to do? The opposition coach have to do.
The one who would have been defending the kick, the Waratahs coach. I think that's a lot. I think it forces sort of your outside backs to stand a bit deeper to mark that, and then obviously there are other forms of kicking. So for me, it's now you can have a lot more options of kicking, because now you can kick that way and then get your attacking line out, which is lovely, which I love. But then at the same time, if they do cover it, there's space in between the defensive line and so you could still kick. I told you, Labeeb, kicking is great, so you can kick a little bit behind there. And yeah, there's a lot happening with that.
But you can actually run it as well, because you're keeping players back.
Yeah.
So if you're keeping players back, there's opportunity for you to run it as well, to attack that space where the player was, So that rule, basically Australia, I think that they enjoy it, their rugby public enjoyed it as well, because they've got a big touch culture there as well. But they've also got a big tag culture where they actually play that rule. So you've got thousands of kids from all nationalities playing that rule, and they've got a massive rugby league culture. And it's actually a rule that's come from rugby league, where they have a similar process where you kick the ball and it goes out in the 22, and you get another set of 6. So for me that's very interesting, and our team are adapting to those type of rules.
Yeah. So you say the Stormers are adapting to it. They're going to be ready. Is that what you guys are looking at in practice?
Not that rule in particular. There have been emphasis placed on kicking, I'll be honest. Gareth has been doing a lot of work on the kicking there. But all I'm saying is that if that rule must ever come into place in world rugby as a permanent rule, I think the Australians would be they would be more wiser in terms of strategy and tactics, how to actually utilize the rule to that advantage, whereas the rest of the world would start to get consultants in, workout plans, and then that's where Australian teams might win them.
Yeah, and I agree with it. I mean, let's talk a bit more about rule changes, but not so much rule changes, but rule enforcing. So with Rugby Aotearoa, we saw at the breakdown, they were, especially at the start, they were really, really strict. No nonsense at the breakdown. Is that something you guys have also had to look at and be like, okay, we have to do things differently, maybe not hit the tick? Tom Dawson's group was talking about how UCT won't want to take the ball to ground if they don't really have to, get a bit more offloads going on. Is that something you guys have looked at, or are you guys just going to keep it the same?
Is UCT the only team you know?
As the only team, I have an inside scoop of, I don't have access to that.
No, I'm only joking. Let's look. We've spoken about it. We've discussed it, weekly discussed it. We haven't had time to implement it in terms of properly train it, because we've only been back a week now. But there has been a little bit of analysis done on it, and obviously I think the first week or two it was very, very, very strictly blown. But I think even on their side, they've also toned it down a bit in terms of how they're doing it, etc. The referees, in terms of the strictness. I think the refs will also probably coach, listen, just don't over manage it, and there has been definitely a downward trend in their penalty counts team. So they've learned to manage it. The team initially at the beginning, especially, were adapted better to the rules. The breakdown interpretation are the one that were winning. They probably have been given away less penalties. So coaches are putting in their coaching structures on how to have their players pull the ball carry. There was a lot of crawling happening in world rugby. I mean, in New Zealand rugby, army crawl. When they go down, they just crawl. So that was strictly enforced. But in the same breath, last week I've actually got a clip of that as well, where they actually, some players are still doing it. We're getting away with it, There's a big focus from what you're seeing, that they're playing hit and run, where they're rolling the ball or popping the ball out, and also the chicken, not the chicken wing, where they're laying the egg, putting the squeeze ball. They're not putting the ball on their tummy, then squeezing it. They're just squeezing it out. That's the ball carriers, and then various teams are doing various strategies on how they position themselves at the ruck and numbers they're committing there.
Okay.
So I think we're still in the teething phases of that, and we'll start putting some breakdown perspective once the COVID rule slackens down a bit, in order for us to really put some bone on bone and decide what's going to work for us, and obviously do analysis to see how we can work.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. We're going to take a little bit of a break and then talk a bit more about coaching. But before that, any big controversial statements on Rugby AU or Rugby AU that South Africans need to take away? And maybe just to help you on that, we saw a lot of forward passes. I know the rules, people are focusing on the breakdown, but I felt like forward passes were going unseen. In the Blues Crusaders game, there were about 5 forward passes that, were just left unseen. Is that something that maybe New Zealand needs to look at, or is that just part of the game?
If I'm a coach, I would want to look at it. For them, I would look at it, but they're also chasing that advantage lineman. It's like timing. So I think like some of the clips I showed you, there is a timing aspect in terms of I think Hurricane in particular could do a bit better on the timing of the outside runners to create better options. But I think the reason it's forward, because they're hitting that advantage line. So they if it's a beat or two more back, it's fine. But they probably feel they're not hitting that blind spot which I spoke about optimally. And that's what they're trying to do. That's why I think it's so straight off forward, the way you say.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wanted to bring up some controversy, but you dealt with it very nice and very sensibly. We're going to take a bit of a break.
Exactly.
That's Gain Line.